Hello and welcome to another edition on Career Pathway Exploration. My name is Jojo Dawadi and I'm currently a senior at North Penn High School. In this ongoing series, we will be talking with community members in a variety of careers about how they arrived at their respective careers and what advice they can offer students on how to be successful no matter what career path they chose after high school. Joining me today is Mrs. Erin Maher, who works for an agency for the Department of Defense. Now, Mrs. Mayer, can you first start off with telling me about your job title and your career name and a little bit about what you do?
Sure. So my formal job title is a contract specialist or a contract officer. So I work for the United States Department of Defense Defense Logistics Agency. I basically serve as a negotiator and contractor to procure all kinds of simple or complex items for the United States military and warfighters or other government support.
So, what background kind of led you to that career path?
My goal when I was your age and growing up and in college was always federal law enforcement. I played a ton of sports for all throughout the North Penn School District and for North Penn, as well as in college at the collegiate level. And unfortunately, just injuries over the time kind of doesn't let me do that right now. But that's why I always wanted to do it. I was always used to moving. I played dozens of sports growing up. I played 3 sports in high school, 2 in college. And even more in middle school, I think, if this is going to 7th graders. I always like to move and use my body. And that's federal law enforcement just spoke to me for that. But like I said, for injuries fresh out of college, I just couldn't do it. I had to have a couple of surgeries after college. So but I knew that I should get started with the government. So I started working for the Department of Defense. I was really lucky to land a really nice job with them. And I've been here for almost 2 years. And I think pretty soon I'll take the leap up to another agency and start doing some federal law enforcement, which is good.
And with your time at North Penn, did you kind of participate in any clubs or activities that really kind of opened your eyes to being a contract specialist?
Not so much what I do now. Maybe I guess no, I don't think I did any business clubs. I think most of my clubs in North Penn were either sports or best buddies, like athletes helping athletes, type of those kind of clubs. Just community engagement, maybe I would say. Yeah, community engagement and just working with all kinds of people is something that I knew that I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to do something different each day because I was playing with, playing against, working with, doing clubs with all kinds of people of all different kinds of backgrounds. And I knew that that's something that I enjoyed and that I wanted to keep doing throughout my career.
Now, I know it's to my understanding that the North Monco Technical Career Center has classes available if you wanted to become a police officer or any type of member in law enforcement. Would you say that's something that younger kids in high school that they should kind of think about doing if they want to do what you currently do?
Of course, if they're very much set on doing that, I think that's a great stepping stone to get there. If the tech school offers that, that's awesome. It's not something that I knew growing up. I mostly got all my information just from talking to people and doing internships um, in college and all throughout college, and then just speaking to people and asking questions.
And my next question was going to be what education slash training led to you becoming a contract specialist? And you just mentioned internships. So can you talk a little bit about your experience with those internships and what they really were?
Sure. So my internships were kind of focused around both of my degrees that I got in college. My undergraduate degree was in law and society, which is kind of a combination between criminal justice, which is what somebody who was interested in law enforcement would probably major in, and political science. So it was kind of a mix of those two things. And then my graduate degree was a MBA, Master's of Business Administration. So that's what kind of led me to contract specialist. We have a little bit of government and a little bit of business together. And my internships were all focused on that as well. My first internship was actually working for Hatfield Township Police Department. I was an intern for them for a little bit. And that was kind of my eye-opening experience to local law enforcement. And then I interned for the United States House of Representatives in DC. So that was kind of my eye-opening to something a little bit bigger and more the political side or the government side of that. And then I interned for Thomas Jefferson University Office of the COO. So that was more my business and my communications and getting those kind of technical business skills.
So
So I
I noticed
threw all
that.
those three together.
Yeah, I was gonna say I noticed how you kind of jump between kind of profession categories, like sometimes politics and then sometimes business. Now, is that just the type of person you are, where you like to kind of being involved in different things, or is that just something that you kind of have to do when becoming a contract specialist?
Um, I think that speaks to probably both. Growing up, I just was always taught to be a well-rounded individual, and and I think that that happened in college as well. And I just took on a lot of different clubs, a lot of different things, just to get a taste of a little bit of everything to see what worked best for me,
Hmm.
um, and what I could do best for other people as well.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, for being a contract, for getting this job with the Department of Defense, I remember my interview, and they were very happy about a lot of the things on there that I had, from my two different kind of degrees to my few different internships to playing sports to being on different kind of team environments and different kind of law competitions. We would do like moot court a lot, and I would get involved with that. And they liked all of the things that I could kind of throw together and do for them.
And earlier you mentioned your internship with the Hatfield Police Department.
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit about your experience in that internship? Because it's very local compared to your other internships. So I'm assuming it was probably the first one.
It was, yeah, I did it my freshman year of college, I believe. Yes, I did. I got hooked up with them, and I expressed to them that I was interested in law enforcement, and I asked if I could, shadow them or just speak to some of them, which is something that helped me. I would do that with lots of different people and lots of different in career paths, and some of them were willing to speak to me. And Hatfield Township Police was nice enough to offer me an internship, which was great. So I got to see. I was doing some clerical work in the office as well, but I would say about half my time was spent, out shadowing with the police officers, with the detectives. I worked very closely with the chief, so it was great to just see what local law enforcement was like and see if that was for me or not.
And now moving on to your internship at Thomas Jefferson, I'm assuming that one was more on the business end of things.
Yes, very much so. I got
Mhm.
connected
Yeah.
with them actually. I attended Thomas Jefferson, which was
Okay.
previously Philadelphia University, and I played basketball and softball there. And it just how happened that our COO was a really big basketball fan. So I just started asking her questions and vice versa. She was asking me what I wanted to do, and I said, I'm getting an MBA. I might be leaning into business for the first couple years out of school because I can't do what I would love to do right now. So she said, if you're interested in the business side of things, you know, let's do an internship with my office. And I did that, and it was great. It was such a great transition into my career. And I'm very thankful that I reached out to her, and she was willing to be so helpful.
So I guess the moral of the story so far is that I'm getting at you have to kind of reach out first, right? Would you say that's correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Sometimes it's about what you know, sometimes it's about who you know, but sometimes it's also about how you approach the people that you know, and never be afraid to ask. Just express them. I could be interested. What can you tell me about this? I can't tell you how many people from how many different agencies, either federal law enforcement or careers, that I've spoken to over the phone, just to see if I felt like it would be a good fit for me, and if I felt like I would, be good at it and be helpful to people in doing that. I've spoken to FBI agents, Homeland Security agents, Border Patrol, some just crazy things, Capitol police officers, local police officers, obviously,
mhm,
state police officers, just all kinds of Secret Service officers, just all kinds of things to see what I felt like would be a nice fit.
and can you talk about if there are any experiences where you did reach out for an internship or an learning opportunity and you were kind of turned the other way? And if that didn't discourage you, can you talk about why that didn't discourage you?
This is going to sound bad, but I don't think that I've been very lucky to have. I mean, there's been times where I've reached out for maybe a conversation, and I
Mhm.
and I didn't get one. But I understand that people are very busy and they might not have time for, at the time, like a 19, 20-year-old kid asking them questions that they might have. They're out there saving the world. So I think internship wise, I've been very lucky to get everything that I've gone for, which is really nice. Um, and As far as discouragement, yeah, it always stinks when nobody's really willing to talk to you, or because it's like, I could be really interested in this and it's disappointing that things aren't going my way on this. Um, but Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So the more times you reach out to people, the better your chance of getting responses. And the worst they can say is no. I've gotten tons of yeses, tons of nos, and I'm very okay with both of them.
And did you have any professional experience after those couple internships that in between where you are now and those internships?
No, this is my first job, and the job I got right out of my graduate degree was working for the Department of Defense. But it's been a lot of training. I feel like only maybe the past 6 months to a year have I really gotten to do my job that I was hired for, because they invest a lot of training in you, which is awesome. We're working for the government. We're using taxpayer money. We should know what we're doing and be really responsible and hard workers. So, and like everything, my job is a little bit more difficult because as laws changed and administration changes, as politicians change who make these laws, so do the guidelines of our job of what we can do and how we have to do it. So, it's a lot of constant training. So I will say that it almost feels like I have a second job on the side with all of the training that I go through, but it's well worth it and I feel prepared for anything.
And can you talk a little bit about that training and what you're specifically training for?
Sure. So, federal law enforcement would be training a lot of different things, physical and whatnot. More so, me now for the job I have, I'm doing it's a lot of technical things. We're learning about because we oversee and administer all these big government contracts. So it flows, in the sense that we get a purchase request. Somebody from the military or a government support agency says, "Hey, we need something." They come to us, and it's our job to find it, preferably American made. Find the thing that the exact item that they want for the price that we want, to be responsible to taxpayers. Um, Assist on all kinds of special projects, and oversee post award performance of these contracts. So a lot of that training is very technical in administration, contract administration, or just being responsible. It's a lot of ethical training too. We have a ton of ethics training, I will say, which is always great.
And I think you talked about how you kind of negotiate contracts. Now,
Mhm.
is there specific speech training for that where you kind of have a mock interview with someone and you kind of have to learn how to kind of sway their opinions on that?
We practice within our team, within the office, and we do have negotiation training. Yes, of course. Because we're evaluating financial responsibility of potential awardees, potential alternatives. And like I said, at the end of the day, we're using taxpayer money, which is a big deal. There's a lot of oversight there, and we want to make sure that we say the right things at the right time. So yeah, we do a lot of training within the office. We do a lot of formal training for that. And then, we mostly just follow the laws. The laws tell us what we can and cannot say to contractors and to people that we are potentially giving a lot of money to for their services or products. So yes, there's a lot of negotiation training, thankfully.
And after the training, you said you feel like you've been officially working for the past 6 months. And can you tell me a little bit more about what you like most about being a contract specialist?
I like that I know that I'm doing something good. I'm the war fighters and military need something, and I'm the middleman, essentially, or middlewoman for delivering those things for them in a timely manner and when they need it. We purchase all sorts of products and services. There's all different supply chains to my agency. There's construction and equipment. There's medical. There's clothing and textile. Their uniforms, helmets, boots. There's big items, little items. Some of the stuff we procure is really really cool. Some of the stuff we procure, it's like, I can't believe that they need that it's do or die that they need something so small like this. But no matter what, I know that we're doing a good thing for the men and women that are going out there and sacrificing their lives and their time and their families to be out there fighting for us. So it feels like I'm doing a good thing. That's my
Mm.
favorite part.
And what surprised you?
What surprised me?
Something you had no idea coming into it.
I would definitely go back to all the laws that we have to follow. It is insane, all of the nitty gritty things that we can and cannot do, and all of the insane reasoning that there are behind them. Just like our everyday citizens and public institutions follow something like Constitution and state laws and local laws. We follow all those as well in our daily lives, and then we go to work and have to follow these extra set of laws. It's called the FAR, federal regulations, and then we have our own DoD regulations and our own agency regulations, and it's just like, and like I said, they're very much training. So it was very surprised at how sharp you had to be and how quick you had to learn to be sharp. But I'm very thankful that I think my education from North Penn and college and all those internships and just communicating with people luckily prepared me to do that.
Would you say there's a bizarre law or like one specific law that you find like the most unnecessary? And I use unnecessary as a grain of salt, but is there anything specific or like an outlier you kind of have to follow?
Now, I don't think anything comes to mind. I'll have to actually, because I do, like I said, I just get trained. I,
Mhm.
I recently have become a trainer for fellow people that were in my shoes a couple years, a year or two ago. And so now I'm learning how to teach all these things. And I think I know a couple of things have stood out, but there's nothing in specific that I can think of. No, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Well, what advice would you give to your younger self that you kind of would see beneficial in terms of getting to where you are now?
Getting to where I am now, I would just be a little more patient with myself. I've always held myself to a very high standard. And like, I think it's been obvious. I've known that since I was in high school that I wanted to do federal law enforcement. And so I would always be frustrated at the fact that I couldn't do that right away. But I think so I would be a little more patient with myself. And now that I am a couple years into this job, I feel very lucky to have a secure job in a time like this and to be where I am at life right now at 24 right now is with everything going on. I feel incredibly lucky, especially some of my friends who are struggling. Um, so I think just be patient with myself would probably be it. So if I was somebody and I was looking for some advice, I would just say be patient, take your
Mhm.
time, take the stepping stone, but don't take too many. Never settle. Get to where you want to get, but it's okay to take a stepping stone to get to where you want to get. Just be patient.
Mhm. And earlier you kind of said, I know we talked about what you most enjoy. We talked about what was surprising, but what's like a normal Tuesday?
A normal
What's
Tuesday.
an everyday kind of task that you kind of have to do?
Um, there's a lot of steps. I think in terms of being surprising was maybe how you have to be very sharp with things, but I think it was difficult for me to understand that some of these contracts take a very long time. Um, Coming fresh out of school, I was very used to writing a paper and a couple of days later you get your grade. Did you get an A? Did you do poorly? You take a test, you get your grade. You know how you did. I'm an athlete, so you play a game. You know if you win, you know if you lost. A lot of these contracts take a lot of time, and there's a lot of steps to them. A lot of it can be really mundane, and I think that was difficult for me to go from bouncing around and playing so many sports and doing so many things to just sitting at a desk, and that's difficult. And I think on my everyday Tuesday, sometimes that can still be difficult. But I like that your question of what is the most rewarding, and me talking about warfighters, that almost reminded me even right now why you sit through the everyday Tuesdays of doing those little pieces of the contract.
Mhm. Well, Mrs. Mayor, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate your time to offer career advice to the students of North Penn. And this is kind of where all of our interviewees like to give a last minute sentiment to everybody listening. Do you have anything like word of advice, last minute information that I didn't really specifically ask questions about, or anything that comes to mind?
My piece of advice, I guess I've always given the same thing to I've done a lot of helping recruit for school, and I think something that I tell um, a lot of people is just, besides the be patient with yourself, is don't let anybody tell you that you can't do something. Chances are they're telling you you can't do it because they can't do it themselves. And if you find out you can't, that's okay. Try something else, but don't let anybody tell you that you can't do something. If you want to do it, give it your best shot. Be patient in getting there, and yeah, give it your best shot.
I think it was Roosevelt who said it's human nature to try a method and to take a method and try it. But if you fail, it doesn't matter, just try something else, but above all, try something. So for everybody at home, you can all watch all of the episodes of the Career Pathway Exploration series on North Penn Television YouTube channel at youtube.com/NPTV. I'm Jojo Dawadi, and thank you for watching with us today, and we'll see you next time on Career Pathway Explorations.